Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to the garage, and welcome to a pretty nice day here in Pennsylvania. It is getting to be that time of the spring when it's getting to be nice in the afternoon. You can go out with a short sleeve shirt on, but in the morning you still need a sweatshirt. I even had the heated seats and all on in Caitlin because it was that chilly, but that's the swings we get here in Pennsylvania as far as the temperature this time of year. But it's still being April, the rest of the week's looking pretty gloomy and wet and just nasty. So I figured while we had a nice night, we'll actually tackle something outside. And that's where our 1984 D100 comes in. So we picked this thing up not too long ago, and really the plan for the truck for right now is to just get something that we can kind of put around, something a little different, you know, something for a nice little like Sunday cruise. So the last time we worked on the truck, we actually worked on the choke, put a choke on the truck because we were having trouble starting it when it was cold. So now the truck hasn't ran for a couple days. We'll start the truck up and then we'll talk about the next issue to make this thing roadworthy. So we come in here, we're gonna whack the throttle once to the floor, and she fires right off. So we got a little bit of our high idle. Should be able to hit the throttle again. And then that settles right down. So you may have heard what the issue is there that we are going to tackle tonight. And that's actually covered right here. As you guys see, carburetor repair kit or rebuild kit. So the problem with the truck really is that it has a pretty substantial bulge. So as you guys heard, with our new choke, fired right up, but there is an inherent problem. If we give it throttle, nice and easy, it's fine, it revs right up. Now if we whack the throttle, so if we whack the throttle from idle, it wants to die. But if you got some RPM, it's just fine. But like I said, if you whack it, it'll actually stall the motor out. So that's why we have a carburetor rebuild kit. From what I've been told and talking to people and looking online, apparently it's probably something to do with the accelerator pump. So I'm not 100% sure where that is. I want to say it's like in here or whatever. There's a plunger. Basically, when we hit the throttle on this thing, we should see fuel go down into the carburetor, which I don't see. I did try it the other day, you know, when the choke was off and all that, and tried to whack it, and I didn't see any fuel going in there. So I believe the accelerator pump is the problem. This is a Holley 1945 single barrel carb. That's the model number. It's pretty common on these 225s. So we're going to get the carburetor off this thing, and we're going to go through our carburetor rebuild kit. It's a bunch of seals and stuff like that, and we're going to try and rebuild this carb, because the problem is, even just, you know, driving this thing up the driveway, when you go to shift from like first to second, it wants to bog because the accelerator is pretty touchy, and I don't know if that's just because of how the linkage is set up or what. Like I said, this is all new to me, but just even going up the driveway when you shift, you got to be really careful where the thing wants to stall out on you. So we're going to rebuild the carburetor and hopefully make this thing better so we can actually take it out for a rip, because I haven't done anything more than drive it up and down the driveway. So yeah, wish me luck. Let's get this carb off and see if we can get it rebuilt. All right, guys, so we've got the carburetor in here, made a bit of a mess, got the first half of it off, just a bunch of miscellaneous screws, and then you got linkages and diaphragm takeoff. They all, this little kit, I got this from Rock Auto, just a carburetor rebuild kit, but it's got a nice little diagram here. So I'm going through and looking at everything. And like I said, from looking online, people say it's usually the accelerator pump. What the accelerator pump does is when you first whack the throttle, it's supposed to shoot a little gas in there, you know, till the carburetor catches up with like the engine RPM and the air coming in. It's just to, you know, give it that quick jolt. So looking at this thing, number 36 here, this spring, that is our accelerator pump spring. So this is our accelerator pump assembly here, I believe. So if we look at our accelerator pump, what I believe happens when you hit the throttle, this linkage is supposed to, let me think about this. So when you hit the throttle, this linkage here works and it pushes down to push this rod out. So as you guys can see in our carburetor here is what this is, I guess, what would be considered the accelerator pump assembly, but it's kind of jammed up. So this part's not good, but if you were to whack the throttle, this would spin. Wait a minute. Pushing out the accelerator pump part, but it doesn't retract. It's just kind of jammed up in that bore. So it's all plastic and I don't see a replacement. So I'm gonna have to figure that out. I mean, we do have some other stuff in here. I'm not sure. I think that's our problem though, that this thing's getting jammed up in this bore. So maybe that'll need a new spring or something, which I don't see in our rebuild kit. But I think that is the cause of our problem. That thing is just kind of hanging out there where it should be. Yeah, I don't want to break it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to fiddle with that, see if I can get that thing to move freely, and then I'll be honest, I think once I get that figured out, I'll probably clean what I got here, and I probably won't take this thing apart any further because it seemed like it was working good at higher RPM. You know, the little bit I did drive it in the driveway. But like I said, I think it was just its accelerator pump. So I guess maybe we won't be doing a full rebuild. I really don't want to take this thing completely apart because I really have no idea what I'm doing. So let me fiddle with this for a little bit and get back with you. All right, so I got our accelerator pump kind of working again. What I did was I sanded it down. So on the back side of this, there is a little, I don't know if you want to call head. There's a lip on the back of the actual accelerator pump shaft. So right here, what I did is I just took our sandpaper, I sanded this all down so that way it would fit better in our bore. So when we have it here, it slides right in, up and down. Slide that in there, this in here like that. I don't know what half this stuff is called, but we put our screw in, tighten that up. All right. So now, whereas before when I would push this lever down, that whole shaft would get stuck in there when I push that lever down. Now it springs right back like it should. The springs are doing what they're supposed to. Our accelerator pump should now hopefully work. So we'll put this all back together. I cleaned everything out with the carburetor cleaner. But like I said before, we're not going to go any further than this because there are little balls and stuff in here that, like, here's one that we actually replaced. If you guys can see that, I mean, it's just tiny. That was actually, see, it won't even focus on it. But anyway, that was in one of these holes, the thing blocking it. I don't know enough about it to rip it all apart. It seemed like it was working at higher RPM. Our accelerator pump we did find was sticking, so we're just going to go with it. If we have other issues, then we'll rip it back apart. Not a big deal, but we got to do stuff like put our float back in and all this kind of good stuff. So we'll get this thing back together and try it in the truck, and hopefully it works. All right, so we got the carburetor back on. Had one little hiccup. I actually had this diaphragm on backwards, so the linkage was jamming up. So when we put the choke on, the choke wouldn't close all the way. So once again, how the choke works, let me take it off, which is good. All right, so that's the choke off. I still have to get a thing to hold that on there, but basically just hit it, wide open throttle, and now the choke's applied. So I think we're all good there. What we will do is we'll have to crank a few times to get fuel in there, and then we'll find out if our little accelerator pump issue is a thing of the past. So I don't know that we successfully accomplished anything tonight. That accelerator pump was sticking. Maybe it is sticking again. I don't know. Maybe we'll pull the top off of that thing or something. Not really sure. It seems to be doing the same thing it was. It might be a tad better. I don't know. I honestly don't. And when we found that valve kind of sticking in there, I figured that was it. But oh, what the heck, we'll pull her off and take a gander. Well, took it back apart, got looking at things again. I changed the hole in the cam that the accelerator pump runs off of this throttle lever. It's better. I played with the linkage here a little bit to try and get it. The booklet that came with the carburetor rebuild kit said like 1 5/8 it's supposed to be, or it's like it's like what is it, like 45/64 or something like that. But anyway, I gotta look into that a little more. it's better. Like now, if you just throw the thing wide open, it's fine. Like it'll rumble a little and then it's good. But if you just kind of ease into the throttle, or like, you know, I guess kind of slam it 3/4 of the way or halfway, then it wants to die. So I don't know if it's that, you know, our accelerator pump's now freed up, but our timing is still off. So when the extra fuel getting thrown in there, you know, it just has to be at the right spot. I don't know. And then again, being this is not, you know, old technology, something I'm not familiar with, maybe that's just how they are. You know, maybe it's just the way it works. I mean, I don't know. I'm used to electronic ignition. Diesel stuff's mainly what, you know, we do here on the channel. So if you know, put something down in the comments, because I'm not really sure. But we're definitely going to try and drive it that way. We'll see how it goes, but that won't be tonight. So guys, we kind of accomplished something in the garage tonight. We did find that accelerator pump plunger was kind of bound up. Like I said earlier, or just a second ago, put something down in the comments. You know anything about that stuff? I've been trying to look it up and, you know, read about it and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know if I'm just not understanding. You know, like I said, maybe that's just how that kind of stuff is. Like you can get it to where it's okay. Like my dad Chevelle, I know he always talked about, unless you had that carburetor, you know, that quadrojet, like tuned perfectly, you get a little quadribog when the secondaries open up, and you know, it kind of like feel like it fall on its face, and then it would take off. So I don't know, you know, being it's an old single barrel, whether it's you're kind of getting the same thing, I don't know. But I know what part of the inside of the carb looks like. Like I said, I didn't want to take the whole thing apart, because it just, even with the little bit we took it apart, that rebuild kit really didn't have everything that we needed. So I just didn't want to get into that too much, because everything seems to be working except for that one bogging issue, which I guess is the accelerator pump. That's at least what I've read. So anyway, guys, put something down below, what you think about that, what you think about working on this yellow truck, this carbureted stuff. I know it's not what we're typically doing here in the garage, but it is something different and interesting. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Catch you guys on the next one. Get out in your garage, get the wrenching on your truck.